Why did you let him kill me? It was the clown. Make the clown go away.
Hello. No, Adrian, I'm not updating the whole internet. Hi, babes. I'm so good evening, all. I'm so sorry. My computer decided to make updates, and they were necessary because otherwise I wouldn't be able to share my screen with you today. So, hi, Don. Hi, Dave. Lee. How's everyone
Hello,
doing?
everybody. Hello,
What's
everyone.
You all good? I can't hear you.
How about now?
Ah, that's better. Dawn, I have trouble, I think, hearing you.
Hello, everyone.
Doing a little sound check. Nah, there you are. Okay, perfect. So before we get into this, what we're talking about today, we have issues with the electricity. So it could be that I'm cutting in and out from time to time. Yeah, so you know. So somebody's gotta mute their microphone because I hear breathing like really loud. Okay, that was Dave.
No, it
right.
wasn't.
It's all good. Okay. What we're gonna talk about today is something I presented, I believe 2 or 3 times back in my live streams about the sheets. But there were some other things I recently discovered and just wanted to go through with you guys to see and to know what is your opinion, right? So I do personally believe that, no, let me start differently. I read a little bit about the law today, especially the Colorado law. I also read when it's appropriate to reverse a guilty plea. And with that knowledge, which I'm going to show you anyway in a minute, compared to the discovery, I found something really ridiculous. In my opinion, this was all a made-up thing from the start. Like they did business together, the DA together with Chris's defense attorneys. We know that also because defense is now working for the prosecution, right? So, but I'm going to show you without further ado. I'm getting into this and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. But before we getting to the law and everything, I want to show you still something about the sheets. So my thumbnail is a little bit, wow, they really did have ... in my opinion, nothing, right? And did Chris Watts know this? In my opinion, when we're finished with the presentation, in my opinion, he did not know this. He had no knowledge of the law. He was never, involved with law enforcement or anything like that. So I think, obviously, we weren't there to say, what did they tell him? What did his defense team tell him to do and all these things? Obviously, we weren't there. But you get a glimpse of what might have happened there. So in the start, I have, that's from Google, specifically for Colorado law. And it says regarding the search warrants, and it says a search warrant must be obtained to search areas where a person has a reasonable expectation of privacy. This could be your home, your car, even your phone, right? Unless a recognized exception to the warrant requirement exists. And it refers to the note Colorado law pertaining to arrests, searches, and seizures is contained in Article 3, Title 16 of the Colorado Revised Statutes. And we're getting into this at the end, right? So this is a screenshot I had done from a previous live stream that was like 1.5 years ago or something. So if you ever want to watch this, you gotta scroll down big time. This was one of my first videos. Okay, it says Agent, Sentner, and Sailor. That's the reports from August the 15th. It's about the drone launch. And Dave G recently put my nose into this because he said, you know what? Maybe we should look into this because he believes that there might be some issues with the evidence collected, right? I'm sorry, you guys, if I stumble along, I'm a little bit out of breath, stressed out because of that computer update. And I thought I'm never going to see you tonight. All right. So at 3:27, as we all know, the first drone was launched. We never got to see any footage of that first drone launch, except still shots. Then at 4:17 p.m., same day, Mr. Serby gave consent to search the field. So as you can see here in black and white, the first drone launch was done without a warrant. They did that because they thought that the Serby field is owned by the government, which they later learned that is not the case. Anadarko could not have given them any consent to search because it's not their property. They lease the field only, right? So what did they do? They tried to reach Mr. Serby and ask him for consent to search. Well, obviously, he gave it to them, right? But 45 minutes later. So everything the first drone catched wouldn't have been admissible in court. And I'm gonna read that little screenshot I have here. Another thing, they don't make it that obvious, right? In the discovery, they don't make it obvious to the judge, because the judge receives the discovery. They don't make it obvious that they did this without a warrant. That's probably why the discovery is so mixed up, right? In my opinion, of course. So it states, upon arrival at the well site, Commander Borders and Detective David deployed an unmanned aerial system drone to survey the well site at approximately 3:27. The drone was equipped with a camera that provided a real-time video feed as well as the capability of taking digital video and still photographs. In the brush to the south of the pad, Detective David and Commander Borders located what appeared to be a sheet lying on the ground. They took a still photograph of the sheet, and I'll show you something in a minute. They took a still photograph of the sheet, and upon inspection, it appeared that it was possible that there were unknown objects underneath the sheet. Detective David and I approached the sheet from the north, and just inside of the brush, just south of the edge of the gravel pad, we encountered an area of bare dirt that appeared to have been recently disturbed. Detective David and I then backed out of the brush and returned back to the pad. Binion Servi, owner of Servi Ranch, was contacted by phone at approximately 4:17 and provided consent to search the property and collect evidence. So what they basically did, they walked out in the field when the drone found the sheet. And then they say something very significant. He says it appeared that there were items underneath the sheet, right? So you cannot tell me that they did not move that sheet. Hi, Mary. Right? So I'm 100% sure that they moved the sheet because we have no drone footage. We have the only thing we have is still shots, and that's it. Right? Let's go further. Oops, that's a bit big. So Commander Borders and I then approached the sheet from the south along the fence line of the well side. The wind was blowing in that direction, and I was attempting to determine if I could detect the smell of decomposition. Upon reaching a closer proximity of the sheet, I was able to determine that it was not as large as had appeared on the video screen of the drone controller, and most likely did not have any objects underneath it. I noted that the sheet appeared to be a fitted sheet of the same printed pattern as a flat sheet located in the kitchen trash can during a search of Chris Watts' residence earlier in the day. I also noted 2 black lawn and leaf garbage bags with red drawstrings in the brush near the sheet that appeared to have been left there recently. And all this stuff appeared on the control panel of the first drone launch, right? So they find it, they approach it, and what he says significantly here is that he thought there might be items underneath the sheet, right? Keep that in mind as we go further. I requested CBI crime scene analyst Dave Yoakum, who assisted in the previous search of the residence, provide me a copy of the photographs of the sheets located in the trash can. CSA Yoakum provided me with these photographs via email, and I compared the sheet in the photograph to the sheet on the ground of the well side and determined that they had the same printed pattern. Then I physically checked the sheet and determined that there was nothing underneath. So they moved it, right? It's a crime scene. Imagine officers come into a crime scene and they just move stuff around. And then they think, oh, we cannot take anything, or we cannot, do this and that. How are they supposed to see how a crime occurred, right? Let's say somebody was shot or something, and they remove items or move items. It's pretty hard to reconstruct the crime scene after that, right? So here, black and white, he tells us he physically checked the sheet.
One thing with that too is they never put it back to where they found it either.
Exactly, and I'm getting to that in the next slide.
I'll mute.
No, don't worry.
Okay.
There were dirt stains on the sheet, including large area of dirt stain with patterns that appear to be from the sheet being dragged along the ground. Photographs were taken of the sheet on the ground. So see, with that being said, that he says there are patterns that appear to be somebody dragged somebody, right? That proves right then and there that he unfolded that sheet. Okay. End of the stains on the sheet with my cellular phone. Copies of the photographs are attached to this report. I also checked the garbage bags and found that neither bag had anything in them. They checked the garbage bags, so they moved those as well. Yeah, everything after the first drone launch. While waiting for the search warrant to be obtained, he's telling on himself, that idiot. I was advised that CBI agent in charge, Kirby Lewis, that Chris Watts had confessed to dumping the bodies of his wife, Shanann Watts, and his children, Bella Watts and Celeste Watts, at the well site. The coroner was then requested to respond while waiting for the search warrant to be obtained, right? So, and I put there, keep in mind, this all happens between 3:27 and 4:17 before they had consent to search of Mr. Servi, right? And then you see here, sorry for saying right and that all the time. One of these images is the first drone launch. The other image is the second drone launch. The sheet is in a totally different position. We also don't have any photographs of the black plastic bags they found there. Otherwise, we could see that they probably moved them as well. He states so anyways, right? So here's the sheet, that bush right there. And in this photo here, it's from the second drone launch. The sheet is right by the bush. So it was definitely 100% moved. Here, and you can see him picking it up, showing it into the camera. At least he wore gloves, right?
I
That's
think
the
so. He
least
wouldn't get
thing.
his hands dirty.
Yeah, but we know that Weld County is not like they don't preferably wear gloves, right?
That's right. With that drone footage too, you actually see them at the start of the video. They have the hatches, the thief hatches open. So with that too, anything that they found there wouldn't be admissible in court either. So
Well, that was the second drone launch.
yeah,
That's fine. That's fine because they launched the second one at 4:34, 4:33.
mm-hmm.
So everything they found after that is fine. But it goes further. Patience, patience. As you guys know, I'm a total data freak, right? So what I did was every picture, every image, every file in the discovery has a entry date. The speaking of documents and files, every image taken tells you exactly what camera they used, what format that picture was taken in, when they put it in the file, and when it was taken. So here you see, this is all in German, but I'm going to explain to you anyway. So this is the second drone launch, or the first, hold on, where is it? Yeah, this is the second drone launch. These are still images of the drone footage we all know and saw, right? So it says here, that's the metadata, and you can try that out on any picture you have in your files or folder. You know, if you go, I don't know, it depends on if you have an iPhone or Android system or iOS system, you can check actually the metadata on your own phone. So it says Wednesday, 15th of August, 2018 at 4:30 p.m. This was taken. Yeah, it tells you what camera. Normally I cut that off here, unfortunately. It even tells you what color filter. Right here, you can see what color filter they used. 72 by 72. The size of the image and all these things. This heute means today because at 11:03 I opened that image in my folder. Welcome, Wonder Woman. Welcome to the family. Right, same here. A minute before that, so we remember at 4:17, Survey gave consent to search his property, and that's fine. So everything they took after 4:17 is fine. Then, oh, that's a double one. Okay. I'm getting into this real quick as well. We remember I just read to you guys that they were thinking that something is underneath the sheets, right? And that he already confessed to killing his girls or dumping their bodies out at Survey. But that's not true. Everything in that report states happened between 3-something and 4:17 until Mr. Survey gave consent to search, right? But Chris admitted or confessed way later than that. So how can this officer or CBI agent say in his report they approached the sheet because he got a message that he confessed to dumping the bodies out there? Makes absolutely no sense. So then it goes further. Prior to Watts disclosing the events surrounding their death and the location of their body, Firestone police investigators located via a drone equipped with a camera the missing fitted bedsheet and 2 plastic bags in a field adjacent to the Survey 319 oil tank site. Based on the information obtained from the interview, I began drafting search warrants and affidavits for the Watts residence and the oil tank site. Then it says, Chris, in a different report, Chris was presented an aerial photograph of the tank battery and identified 3 separate locations in which he placed the bodies. At approximately 4:15 p.m., investigators spotted a bedsheet near the tank battery. So what do we have here? A case of mix-up, and it's not in order, right? So before they even had consent to search, Chris was presented an aerial photograph. That's not true. Absolutely not true. Here you see, why is CBI giving this information to agents at Survey before CW even confessed to killing Shanann after 4:43? So half an hour after Survey gave consent to search, and at around 3:40 something, the officer states, or the agent states in his report, that he confessed to dumping the body. Half an hour earlier, then all this went down anyways, right? So absolutely not true. Next thing, he told them where they were at exactly 5:51. I took a screenshot of that when she provides him with that little aerial photograph at the interrogation, 9 minutes to 6, right? And what does this officer or CBI agent, it was Kirby Lewis, he does state, while waiting for the search warrant to be obtained, I was advised by CBI agent in charge, Kirby Lewis, that Chris Watts had confessed to dumping the bodies of his wife, Shanann Watts, and his children, Bella Watts and Celeste Watts, at the well side. Yeah, so 2 hours. He drafted that report basically 2 hours before they even knew where they were. So this is more than confusing, right? Search warrant 4:17, confession 5:51, but the agent on field already knew that he confessed at before 4:15. Makes no sense, right? Then at 5:56, So basically 5 minutes after confessing, quote unquote, he signs that image. And now guess what? From what drone footage do you think that image is? Dave, Dawn?
Sorry, come again?
What do you think, what drone screenshot that is? Is it from the first or the second drone launch? The first one without a warrant or the second one with a warrant or with consent?
It is hard to tell if it is the first or the second. I would have expected to see some timestamp overimposed or superimposed on the photo.
Right.
Otherwise, I would have to compare the frame by frame, the footage.
Okay,
Yep.
I can tell you right now that this image was from the first drone launch.
That's what I was going to say too, because there's only 3 vehicles there. And one weird thing about this photograph, it seems to be colorized because it's not the same color as the drone footage itself. So, like, if you were to take a screenshot of it, of anything,
Yeah, that's a printout.
yeah,
That's a normal printout. They probably didn't print it out as, you know, in photo quality. They just printed
right. But
something out.
see, if you go by the like I'm saying, colorized is because of where the shadows in that are on this one. It seems to be in the afternoon and not in the evening. So,
Right. This is the first drone launch, and I'm telling you why. So signed by Chris Watts at 5:56, 5 minutes after he, quote unquote, confessed. Okay. Here you have a better one. First drone launch, because the second drone launch, where do I have that picture? I forgot to insert it. Hold on 1 second, I'll show you. Anyways, I'm gonna show you in a second. I have to pull that picture up. At 6:04, so 8 minutes later, that image was filed into their files. So was documented into their files. And another thing I wanted to remind you of. Do you guys remember when I told you, like, Lauren Arnold in her interview, she states at around 6 p.m. she got a call from Mrs. Rusek telling her he confessed to knowing where they were. But on the news, you're going to hear a different story, right? So in my opinion and in my belief, the person who went out the interrogation room filed this image into the document disk or whatever they use, informed Mrs. Rusek, in my opinion. Because at 6 p.m., how does she know? Right? She's calling Lauren Arnold at 6 and tells her he confessed to knowing where they were. But on the news, you're gonna hear a different story. Does that ring a bell? Like, we have the agent telling officers on field 2 hours prior to Chris Watts confessing to knowing where they were, that he already confessed dumping their bodies out there. It doesn't make any sense.
well, that goes back to Tammy Lee and her husband going into that Facebook group too, and telling everybody that he had confessed to killing all of them.
Exactly. Okay, where do I have that image? Hold on, give me 1 wee second. That's the first one. It makes absolutely no freaking sense at all. Oh, you know what? I can actually just really quick show you the drone footage, because then you will know exactly what I mean. I just pull it up on YouTube real quick. But I don't have it on hand. Susan Barnes is the channel name. I'm gonna pull this up from. Just share it real quick. So you see the difference. Sorry, it's my fault. I did not prepare well. Okay. So as you can see here, you see all the cars. This is the second drone footage, right? This is channel Susan Barnes. She uploaded the drone footage we all saw, basically, right? So this is the second drone footage. Of course, we only see the second one. Why? Because the first one is not admissible in court anyways, right?
The one I
So
sent you today from Kimberly's, is that the first or the second one? Because she found that in a old folder.
yeah, but there is no image. There are stills, but there is no drone footage from the first drone launch.
Right. No,
There
I was just
isn't.
wondering because it seems different than the one I was watching earlier.
Yeah, it's because the sun's going down slowly. This is one drone launch basically, and they I believe they launched the second one at around 4:33, I believe. Okay, so this is the drone launch, right? So keep that in mind. Second one, all the cars are there. Going back to my screen. Here. So first drone launch, not that many cars, only 3. And as you saw in Susan Barnes' upload, there were many, many more cars, because then they call CSA, the crime scene specialists. Then they call whatnot CBI to check in the tanks and all that crap. That started after the second drone launch. So everything basically, yeah, here you can see it as well. This is also a drone launch still photo of the, I might have a better picture even, I think. But yeah, as you can see, this is a still as well. What did they find? The rake head, the rake handle, the rake plastic bags, the bed sheet, and the other plastic bag over there. They found that while launching the first drone, so this wouldn't be admissible in court, this evidence. Also, not this image. Another thing, Troy McCoy, when he said Chris parked to the wellhead, his front lights facing the wellhead is right here. They used the same still shot of the first drone launch. And I was scratching my head today because I thought, you guys remember when he said, when was this taken? I'm not sure, maybe, if this has anything to do with anything, but this was such an odd comment he made. Like, when was this taken? Like if it would matter, right? No, nothing, that doesn't matter. And I don't know what was in his head, because he, as we all know, lost his memory, that poor man. All right. Sheets completed. Are you cooking or something, Dave?
Nope. No, Dottie just jumped up on my lap here, so.
Aw, okay. So this is just, I thought I'm just gonna put that in anyway. It's Officer Valley. He reports that at approximately 10 a.m. they started a search. The processing of the vehicles was completed by CBI agent David Yoakum, crime scene analyst, and Kaylee Hansen, forensic scientist. So they obviously have, I thought, we have all the search warrants in the discovery, Facebook, phones, whatnot. But we do, even the Lexus, but we don't have a search warrant in the discovery from the Ford, from his work truck. I didn't find it. If someone of you finds it, please send it my way. I wasn't able to find it. And, you know, I'm thinking what I don't see doesn't exist. So let's speculate. That search warrant was obtained for the Ford. Imagine they wouldn't have one. Why didn't we see the search warrant? They do say that a copy of the search warrants was left in each vehicle, but we only have the one for Shanann's car in the discovery. And I'm thinking that they are generally shady. So I do not believe that these people had a search warrant for the Ford. Right? Oh, thank you, Broken Dishes. Thank you for your continued attention to this case, despite the efforts of others who only wanted to fade from the public radar. Thank you so much. It's not all my work, you know. It's Don and Dave and all my beautiful, wonderful mods that forward me information, and I get a lot of information from subs too. So it's not all my doing, but thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So what he does put, and I always told you guys, it's always important that you don't only read the typed written reports, read the handwritten notes too. You get so much more out of the handwritten notes, because this is what the officer or the agent or whoever had something on his mind had this at this particular moment on his mind first and writes it down. So it could be forgotten to put in the report as is, you know. It's always important that you read the little things. Do you guys remember when when we went through the autopsy of Shanann, and Don found that he couldn't even determine a cause of death. It was written in his handwritten notes from the medical examiner that it was probable asphyxiation by strangulation. So they couldn't even tell for sure. And things like that, little things like that, you only find in the handwritten notes. So these are Officer Valley's handwritten notes. Dave G sent me this. He's typing get neighbors code to get into. Vivint video, Dave at house. Tuesday vehicle search. So, and it's important to see, because we're getting to that when Joachim lists all the stuff he took out of the vehicle into evidence, right? So this guy was present when they searched the vehicle, and he notes down a shovel, what does that mean?
That's a crescent wrench.
Crescent wrench?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe Chris had the crescent wrench McCoy lost. Aw. He should have asked him first before going out survey Tuesday morning. I'm being sarcastic and nobody's laughing. All right. I suck with jokes. I need none of your business. She does the best jokes ever.
We
Okay,
were taken away. We were taken away by the spelling.
what?
We didn't laugh because we were taken away by the spelling of crescent.
Crescent wrench. Okay. Chris's wrench. Sand and dirt. Work boots. And you guys, in his vehicle for work, the Ford, there were his new work boots, because Yoakum states he finds the brown work boots in the Lexus. And do you guys remember what I told you a long time ago or a few months ago? In my opinion, he used his old work boots that morning and they disappeared. So he could say, no, I'm having new work boots, so the print you just took isn't mine. Look, and presents his new work boots. These are the boots I'm wearing. And this would also make sense because McCoy was so stressed out about the work boots. He was so stressed out that he called the co-workers, Melissa and whatever, telling them, oh my God, you have to call law enforcement, telling them that he wore old clothes and his old work boots. Make sure they know that he wore his old work boots.
Yeah, one pant leg was tucked in and the other one was out.
Yeah, legless lizard syndrome or something.
Yeah, he didn't want to get bit by a snake.
Right? So, as you can see, in my opinion, of course, everyone has their own opinion. Take it as you will or leave it. In my opinion, it was a throwing under the bus, 100%, because this guy notes work boots in the fort, and CSA Yoakum notes brown work boots in Shanann's car. So 2 sets of work boots, and McCoy doing his little running errands because the whole wide world needs to know that Chris wore his old boots. And it always baffled me what's so significant about those boots. And like I said, in my opinion, I think that he put them in his work truck to say, yeah, it's not my prints or whatever. But that's just my opinion. Stuffed animals, blankets.
Yeah,
And
them are the ones that they couldn't find because Chris had told them that he buried them with Shanann. So they went and dug up next to where Shanann was found and couldn't find anything there. So they asked him again, are you sure you buried them? And he said, well, maybe they blew away in the wind. Sorry, go ahead.
What, the animals blew away in the wind?
Yeah, remember they were looking for his stuffed animals and blanket. And
You
he
know
said
what?
he buried them.
It poured down with rain. How can anything that's wet and heavy blow away in the wind?
Well, that's the same as the fitted sheet. That fitted sheet they found at survey, we're not sure how that could happen because the fitted sheet was inside the house when they did the wellness check.
Yeah.
So most beds only have one fitted sheet, but that one pattern. But then again, if they're putting 2 fitted sheets on the same bed, that's kind of weird too, right?
I'm gonna go back real quick because I want to show you something. This sheet, I mean, I don't know what you guys think, but this sheet does not look to me like it's for a king-size bed.
No, it is a fitted sheet though. You can see the elastic on it.
Oh yeah, it is 100% a fitted sheet, but
Yeah.
it doesn't look to me. I mean, their bed was like king size, right?
That's right, yeah.
But that does not look to me like a king size bed sheet. Look how small it is. You see the what's it called? The trim.
Yeah.
And the officer or whoever that, it's right here and right here. To me, this looks like a single bed or a queen size at most. Right? Okay, the corner would be here, obviously. But I don't know.
Or a child bed sheet.
What's that?
Or a child bed sheet.
Could be too, yeah. Or what about the bed size in the basement?
That looked like it was a queen too.
There you go. And they had loads of bed sheets and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the same pattern. Was there? Oh, Catherine might know this. Catherine, see if you're here. Do you know if the bed had any sheets or anything on it in the basement? Or was it just blank sheets
No, it
and
had
pillows?
sheets on it.
What's that?
It had sheets on it.
It had? Okay.
Yeah, and a dead wasp, wasn't it, or something? And they said that it looked like it'd been there for a while.
Yeah. Well,
But no, it had, I believe it was a brown comforter over top of it. I can't remember. It's been a while.
oh, there you go, Catherine. The bottom sheet in the basement was changed between Monday and Tuesday. On Monday, it was white. On Tuesday, it was gray. Ha! There you go. I personally do believe anyway that everything happened in the basement. I don't believe in a argument or nothing. I believe that this was fully premeditated. Okay, he notes down Nikki May, Primrose Daycare, McCoy, Sunday 5:07, text to Chris 2 Cody Roberts, Monday trip to 319 site. And as I told you before, that's another thing that's weird, but it has nothing to do with that topic we're discussing today, but still, I want to just say that real quick. Cody, McCoy and Chris met up for the Fire Stick, which I, at the moment, or meanwhile, don't even believe that this meeting ever happened. And I'm telling you why. In the interview of McCoy, we hear him saying that he took a phone call from Cody. And Cody said to him, well, there's a leak on Survey 319. And McCoy then states to him, this can wait till Monday. But then Chris jumps in and offers, oh, you know what? I can do the leak on Monday, no problem. Right? While Cody's on the phone. So on Sunday, however, he tells him he's going out there, Survey 319, to do some checks, and he's checking out the 629 and whatever surveys he wanted to go to. And then Cody says, did Troy tell you what I found out there Friday? So if they had spoken on that Friday when the supposed Fire Stick meeting occurred, if Cody would have been aware that Chris stood next to McCoy, why would he ask him, did Troy tell you what I found out there Friday? Why would he even say that when he was on the phone with McCoy? And then Chris says, yes, I was standing right next to him. So this is an indicator to me that what McCoy states in his interview is absolutely fabricated. There was no phone, there probably was a phone call, but Chris wasn't near him, as he states. Otherwise, Cody wouldn't have had to ask Chris, did he tell you what I found out there? Because as we know, according to McCoy, Chris offered on the spot on Friday at the parking lot when they exchanged the Fire Stick, offered to go out there on Monday morning. But on Sunday or Monday, or on Sunday at 5:07 when he texts him, he didn't know anything. So either this meeting never happened, or they spoke, McCoy and Chris. Because McCoy says to Cody, says to the agents who are interviewing him, Cody called me while I was out there, exchanging the fire stick with Chris. But if Chris wasn't there and doesn't know that Cody called McCoy, he couldn't have known, because otherwise he wouldn't have told him, you know what, I go out Survey 319 if you want. Because they already talked about this on Friday. So why would he bring it up on Sunday again? Makes no sense if it makes sense what I say now, right?
Well, what gets me is, why would Cody even call Troy? Because he lived in Troy's basement.
At that time?
Yeah.
Still?
Yeah.
I thought I heard that he did live with McCoy, but not at the time of the murders or something.
No, I've never heard that part at all. I've heard that he always lived with McCoy, and then, well, everybody, it wasn't just Nicole that lost her job that day. She really never lost it. It was, what was there, 12 people? I think it was, that their jobs were the end of their contract. So it wasn't just Nicole's contract that was up. There was a total of 12 people that left, and he was one of them.
Right. Well, in my opinion, that fire meeting never occurred. The same as I don't believe that the Lazy Dog meeting ever occurred, or that NK and Chris went to the Lazy Dog. I don't believe that, because this case made international headlines all over the world, even here, far away from you guys. And surely one of them would have came forward. One of them would have said, oh yeah, of course, I remember. This guy's face is all over the freaking TV. Yeah, I do remember. He came in with a young lady. Nobody even remembered these people. So to me, no. I get it when police goes around and says, have you seen this person 5 years ago? And you start thinking, oh my God, I can't remember, blah, 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 right? But this was right there, like literally a week prior. And they asked everybody who was at the Lazy Dog serving guests on that day, and nobody remembered them. So to me, I don't know. It's fishy.
To me too, it seems kind of weird that both locations, their cameras weren't working either.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything, like, there was one out there that there was supposed to have been a meeting, and what was it, NK and Chris went to one, and it turned out that everybody was at the other one. That's the only reason why they went to the second one, but there's no proof of that either, really. So
Right. So then he states something that I cannot make sense of. It says, not Saturday, late afternoon, Sunday. It's either a 4 or a 1. I believe it's a 1. He put 4 before he overwrote it with 1. Or do you guys see that differently? I don't know. I cannot make any sense out of this note. Not Saturday late, afternoon, Sunday 1 or 4. 1. Melina says 1. Okay, I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with the note prior. Sunday 5:07 text to Chris, to Cody Roberts, Monday trip to 319 site. And then he continues to say, or to write down, not Saturday late, afternoon, Sunday 1. I got to dig into this a little bit. I just wanted to show you guys, but I got to dig a little bit more into this. There must be certainly more reports from Officer Valley than there is for the search of the vehicles.
He
Then he
actually
said,
changed that because it looks like 1:30 or 4:30, and he changed it to either 1 or 4 o'clock.
yeah, exactly. He overwritten it, right?
Yeah, and that's one thing you're not supposed to do. So
Right.
you're supposed to put a line through it and initial any changes.
Yeah. Then 2825 Shannon Watts, Chris 303 SV 57730. And then he calculates something, Forge minus Albert. No clue. As you guys know, Detective Baumhofer requested all written notes to be filed. If that had nothing to do with that case, he surely wouldn't have filed it, would he? I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. Okay, then he states 2825 Saratoga Trail again. Nicole, send 970. Then he calculates something. Then again 2825 Saratoga Trail. 18 called. Then he says POR, security, neighbors, video, Verizon, Xfinity, work laptop, lazy dog, Kovac or Kovac, his wallet. Book, hold me tight. Ah, so he is listing. He's listing what they found. Right? The book, hold me tight. Work laptop. He's got to get the neighbor's video, security, lazy dog, asking something, his wallet. Strange. But I just wanted to show you guys, basically, aside from the topic we're discussing, but I gotta dig into this a little bit deeper. Sounds like an inventory. Yeah.
I have a small observation. What kind of level of knowledge could have that agent or police officer that wrote the notes if he felt the need to calculate 17 minus 8 on paper?
You mean because it's a easy calculation?
Of course.
I don't know, but sometimes I do that too. Sometimes you
Oh,
just have a blank head and you're like, and you have so many things on your mind that little things like this can be quite difficult. It's my own experience. It's true. It sounds stupid, but it's true. So I don't know. I don't know what he thought. All right. I believe that he knew everything. Just wanted to show you that on the side as well. I asked Chris if Shannon was worried because he knew she was too big to fit in the tank, and he said yes. I asked Chris if each girl was going to be in a separate tank, and he said yes. I asked Chris if he could hear them drop, and he said Bella's tank seemed emptier than Cece's tank. So that's coming from someone who obviously has inside knowledge. Then underneath, I put you the hazmat report. During the briefing, we were informed the east tank battery contained approximately 9 feet of crude oil and the west tank battery contained approximately 1.4 feet of crude oil. Schisler advised they would first empty the east tank battery. After the briefing, I walked over to the small shallow grave where Chris's wife, Shannon Watts, had been exhumed the night before. So, Bella's tank seemed emptier than Cece's tank. I'm not even sure if Bella's tank was Bella's tank the east tank?
Bella's tank had 18 inches of sludge in it, I think it was.
That I don't know. I just know the content of the oil.
Yeah, but no, hers, because she had bruising on the bottom of her feet too from being dropped.
Yeah, you said that earlier, but I couldn't find anything in the autopsy report that states that.
I'll get it
Any
for you.
bruising or anything on her feet.
Yeah. Who was that? Crime Rocket. He actually showed that the first year. That was actually inside the discovery. So
Huh. Well, I did not find anything concerning.
I'll get it for you.
Oh yes, please. Then we can present it here to the people watching. Hold on, what I want to look up real quick. Yeah, so the east tank was fuller, the west tank was not so full. Now go back to where's my presentation here? So where's east? I have no clue. East is here, right?
Well, he has it marked on the paper too, where he put C on one and B on the other.
Yeah, but that doesn't help me.
No,
No.
I think B is the one on the right.
That's B is left.
B is left?
B is left, C is right.
Okay.
So what is east and what is west?
CC is west. CC is west. The north is forward, as you look at the photo.
CC is west.
No.
Bella is west.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, it lines up during the briefing. So Bella's was emptier than CC's. Then another thing I found, I did not put it in here, but I'm going to right now. Want to show you with all the updates my computer ran today. It's like quite stressful. Here. I'll put that in here real quick. Should be coming up. There you go. And another one, I think. Yeah, this one I wanted to show you too. This is just stuff, I come across while looking, and it doesn't really have anything to do with the topic we're discussing, but still. So it says, blue latent blood reagent was applied to the thief hatch of each tank after positive and negative presumptive tests of the reagent had been done with expected results. Then he states, where was it? Oh no, that's the wrong one. Hold on, give me 1 second. I find it. Here it is. Here it is. And I believe that is kind of proof that Bella's injuries came from, well, it's my opinion, came from her being stuffed in those tanks. It says, blue star latent blood reagent was applied to the thief hatch of east tank after positive and negative presumption tests of the reagent had been done with expected results. And no lumen, I can't spell that word, was observed on each tank or the catwalk connecting the tanks. So how did Bella get her injuries then? Seemingly or obviously not in his truck, or I don't know, you guys. I just told that to Dawn. I got braces when I was 12 or 13 years old, and they cut my frenulum because otherwise they couldn't apply the braces, and it bled like hell, like it dripped and dripped and dripped and dripped, right? So that there is no blood anywhere in his truck, on his clothing, on his body even. You know, if it's dripping through, I don't know.
Well, that's the same as Shanann too, because her organs were dry. They had to squeeze her spleen in order to get any blood out of it. So where's the blood from her?
Yeah.
And if she was like, if Bella was bleeding when he took her up to the catwalk, that would have showed up.
Right. Good night, Owl. That's a absolute great question. But how did their shoulders fit in an 8-inch diameter opening? Shoulder width is 1.5 times the size of head for a female. I did, well, I'm not going to show you the images, obviously. But what I did, I believe it was last summer. Yeah, last summer. I had an old basketball. We emptied out our basement, and I found my old basketball net. And it's a little basketball net that you put onto a cupboard or something. And when I was younger, I used that little basketball net to throw my paper and stuff into it, so it will fall through the net into my bin. Yeah, you guys know these little thingies. So I found that thing, and my son said the net was totally destroyed after all these years, of course. And he said, he can build something with that metal ring that where the net was attached to. And I said, all right. And then he held it, and my son is 8 years old. And last year in summer, yeah, he's born in May, so he was 8. And I was looking at him, and I was thinking, I want to know how wide that ring for that basketball net is. And I got a ruler out, because we in Germany, we don't do inches, right? We calculate everything in centimeters. So, and it appeared that after measuring it, it was 21 point something centimeters. And I got, I calculated on the internet what is 20 point something centimeters, and it came out as 8 point something something inches, 8.01 something. And I was thinking, this is really big. So I said to my son, put your head through that ring. And he did. And it was no problem. And my son is 8 years old. No problem whatsoever to fit through. My mods have seen those images. Dave G has seen those images, and Don obviously has seen those images. And I don't know, let them guys tell you their opinion. But in my opinion, a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old fit through no problem. At the tanks, the inner ring is a little bit more narrow, right? But the medical examiner also states that Bella had scratches, and, you know, she was a little bit, Cece was a little bit chubbier, I would say, but Cece, Bella was older, you know? So it was absolutely no problem for my son to fit through. And then he liked it, and then he pulled his hands up, and we, you know. Do you guys know these hula hoop rings? It was like almost like he was doing the hula hoop thingies. And yeah.
Can you share my screen, please?
Yes, absolutely. Hold on, I gotta stop mine. Yeah. Oh, so I hope that answers your question.
I measured the photo using proprietary software, and As you can see, there is a 6.2 inches diameter of Bella's head. I agree that the shoulders width is 1.5 bigger than the head to an adult. On the
But
other
it
hand,
narrows down when you stretch your arms.
exactly, that
Up.
is what I wanted to say. If you stretch the hands upwards, and let's not forget something else. Nobody said that the girls have been inserted into the tanks without touching the rim of the opening. It was
Right.
a tight fit, and sadly they needed a push
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
enter.
Yeah. It's absolutely horrible. I mean, Kelly, you're absolutely right. Those poor babies. It's
Yeah,
horrible to think about, but it is possible. We cannot imagine that, that was never ever seen before, ever. That somebody did this to children.
and
But
this is the kind of details that what's want to avoid at any cost uh,
mm,
revealed in a court of law. They will
yeah,
never go for a trial. Perhaps this is not the darkest secret that happened during their death. I'm expecting even more gruesome facts that happened in that morning or
yeah.
evening, whatever.
Sweet pea, that's the thing. I measured it and it was 8 inches. So it's the basketball hoop net thingy wasn't bigger. It was
Tanya,
one of these table things you attach to a table to put your, every kid has that. Like you throw like a table basketball thing you can use inside. It wasn't like a big massive basketball net you hang outside, you know.
Tanya, you can blur Jason's face if you want.
Jordans. Yeah, mm, maybe.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I just have something against putting my children on the internet in general. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, I cannot promise, but I definitely tried it out and he fit perfectly. Oh yeah, here you go. Yeah, I have trouble with coordinates. My friend Mary used to help me all the time with this. Yeah, west is to the left. Okay. All right. That just aside. Oh my God, we talk about so much stuff that
Well,
I.
even with that too, because the thief hatch and the hole in the tank is two different sizes also. Because when they build them tanks, they weld them together. There is no
Mm,
hole, so they have to use a cutting torch in order to make the hole, and not one hole that they make is going to be the same as the next, more or less, because again, it's done with a cutting torch. So some
yeah,
might be 7 inches, some might be 7.5. Just very seldom you'll find one that is actually 8 inches. So if the
right.
one picture that they actually show with the measuring tape, that's about 7.5 inches is the size of the hole cut into the tank. So,
Yeah,
and
it's a little difference. It's not that much.
no,
We're not talking about double the size or half the size.
no. And if you go back to what Don was saying about um, probably more gruesome things happen than just that, it really
Yeah,
bothers me with Shanann not having any blood in her organs, that her organs were dry. So if you look at all the pictures that they show of the grave and everything that they dug up, there's no blood saturation in that sand at all.
well, I
So
mean, she always states in her messages to friends that she had dehydration and all that. And
Right.
also, I mean, you can you can think whatever, but I also believe that this Thrive stuff, the patches, the balance capsules, and whatever she took all the time, this contributed to, you know, her being dehydrated in general.
Right. But then you go back to good old Rourke, charging him with termination of a pregnancy that caused Shanann's death. But then you have in a little sticky note saying she may have been caused by asphyxiation.
Yeah.
You know, so then you got Cece, sorry, that there is no cause of death. You know, so what do you do with all that? The whole thing, all three of their autopsy is questionable all the way around. But it does bother me with Shanann what actually happened to her. That they could have worded it different with termination of a pregnancy that caused her death. You know, so with her not having any blood in her body, even if she was dehydrated to that point, she would be able to walk. You know,
Right.
but no, she would have memory loss and bodily functions not working to be that low in blood. You know, so. But sorry,
Let,
I'll mute again.
let's
No, it's
let's not
okay.
let's not
It's
forget the odd position of Shanann's body. The odd position she was found in. The rigor mortis installed
Yeah, they called
in a
that
very
in
odd
yoga the
position.
downward dog position.
Yeah, it's
right.
it's like a ritual. Whatever.
Wonder Woman. A head of a child is bigger. It would never fit to go through the top hatch. So how do you think the girls went in there then? Through the manhole? Does that make sense?
Through the manway, they'd have to drain one tank in order to open that up, so they wouldn't have oil all the way like leaking all over the place. And
That
then
manhole scenario, if I can just say this, makes no sense to me, because even if, you know, these are overflow tanks. The first tank is connected to the bypass line. It overflows. So in the second tank to the left is a storage tank. So when the first tank is full, the oil starts dripping into the storage tank via the overflow, right? You cannot reverse that. So it's not possible that you put the oil from a storage tank into the other tank back and forth. That's not possible, right? The second thing I just want you to think about, let's say and theorize and speculate. Whoever did this drained one tank, put Bella in there or Cece or whoever was first, yeah? Then makes the effort to close the manhole, which is those tanks, we're talking about 35 years of age, yeah? So close the tank, proof like tight again with these old silicone or whatnot they had around the manhole doors. Put one of the girls in those tanks, close up the tank, then drain the other tank into the tank where one of the girls is, open that manhole and put that girl in there. Does that make any sense? To me, it doesn't.
Of course, it doesn't. I dare anyone to try unscrewing one single rusty bolt with a wrench and see how much time it takes and effort.
I just cannot think about, you know, if you make the effort to drain one tank, you know, which is possible, right? If you drain the non-holding tank. But why not putting the girls together in one tank? Why close up the manhole, and make the same effort again to put the other girl in? I don't know. I don't know. To me, it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't make sense in general why I can see, I know, Don, you disagree. I can see why separate tanks. I can see that because of it has to do with those swimmers that are in the tanks. And I still do believe that it alerted somehow when with the oil level rising and all that. I see that as a possibility. I can't prove it. Obviously, I'm not an oil tank specialist, but in my mind, in my theory, I see why they did this. Yeah, two girls, two separate tanks.
Well, one
But it
thing with
makes
that
no
too
sense.
is
It
them
makes no sense to me, draining the tanks and opening the manhole and then do the same effort on the others. I don't know. Doesn't make sense to me.
one thing with them tanks is once they were actually built and set in place, they were painted. So you got to remember, like 30 years of sitting out in the elements, even with them being painted, it would actually show when they went to take them out if the bolts were tampered with or not. If they're like, they should have noted that. And I never seen anything anywhere saying that. The only thing I saw was a blonde hair on one of the thief hatches, and that was it.
And we don't even have a picture of that.
No, well, then again, the only picture taken out at survey was supposed to be of Chris's laptop, and they never showed that either. So
Right.
that was an important thing too about him taking a picture of the laptop, but yet they don't show it. That's kind of weird too.
Yeah. Okay, let's continue with the evidence we came for today.
Yeah.
But it's
Please, one
nice
last time.
always to what?
Please, one last time, share my screen.
Okay, I'm sharing your screen, and you guys give me 5 minutes so I can make a cup of coffee. Okay? I'm
Okay.
stressed out still from those updates. Okay, I share.
As you can see, this is the same tank that was at survey. There are 64 bolts. Let's say a minute to be generous to unscrew a rusty bolt, and we have an hour to open one single manhole. And this is an interior view from the tank. It is a partial view, but if you stay inside, the tank is huge. I'm talking about how much would raise the level of the oil if a small body of a child would be thrown in. Like I said many times, it is a fraction of a millimeter. Yeah, and Tanya's argument that it doesn't make sense to open two man doors to just to put another child in there, it does not make sense at all.
No, especially they just had the water drained out of them too. They sucked the water out of them. So that was on Tuesday.
I understand it is very hard to believe that a child would fit in such a small hole, but
You have to remember too with kids that their bones are still developing, so they're actually soft. And like
yeah,
if you put your
they're
hands up in the air, like both hands, stick them up in the air, your breast plate, like it actually folds inward. So it actually makes your shoulders from side to side a lot narrower too. So, and if it's done before rigor mortis sets in, that I could see that happening. Because with Bella, she only had some scrapes on her buttocks and one shoulder, I believe, and that was it. So, and then the bruising on the bottom of her feet.
Yeah, they are like rubber dolls,
Mm-hmm.
more or less. That is my understanding from my discussion with coroner. And something else, when a child is dead, it is easier to manipulate than being alive.
Right.
You can squeeze him. Sorry, there are some gore details, but that's the truth. You can squeeze his body inside very little, very narrow openings.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you watch these kids' funniest videos and stuff like that, and even on YouTube, you got these kids, 3, 4-year-olds. There was one not too long ago, your angel food cake pans. The kid actually put her head through that, and they had to call the fire department and cut the kid's head off, or not cut the thing off around the kid's head, I should say. But it's the same thing as a manhole, or a teeth patch, I should say. That, and remember your wrought iron fencing they used to have, the steel fencing? You could see kids sticking their heads through there and getting it caught too. So
Yeah.
does anybody have any questions so far? I noticed there was one there. Somebody's talking about only an hour to do the girls and all that, and Shanann. I'm not convinced that the girls even came home from that birthday party. So if you
Oh, I
look
so agree.
at time wise, Chris didn't get back to his house. His cell phone didn't connect to the router until 9 o'clock. And if they left, say 4:30, that gives him a long time to go out to survey and dispose of the girls and even dig Shanann's grave. So you really got to forget about that hour of him being out there, because there's absolutely no proof that he wasn't out there Sunday night.
Yeah, that's my theory too. I mean, yeah, unless I can, I'm looking, but unless I can prove otherwise, for me, that is the theory, because, well, we gotta keep in mind we don't have everything.
Yeah, right.
I do believe that we have the router logs in its entirety, but everything else, I don't know. I don't know.
Another thing too about them bolts, I don't remember if you remember the back of the Chris's work truck. They had that hose reel on there. That's for an air compressor, and then
They
you
had
have
what?
a hose reel for air compressor.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, then you have Chris saying that he took 2 totes with him out there that day, and also his wrenches from work. So impact air wrenches. So I don't know if he would have fittings that big to get them bolts off with his air wrenches or not. But that's what he actually said that he took out there. So, and if he's using air wrenches, they'd come off real quick. But if they are old, they'll snap and you won't get them off. But again, they never said anything anywhere if there were scratches or if it looked like them bolts had been removed prior to them taking them off that day. So, but I just find it hard to believe that they would go to that much trouble, as you said, to put one baby in each one. Why not just throw them both in one? Because the levels would have not done anything at all, not because of their weight and size and that, but also because they just finished taking the water out. So everything wouldn't have been stabilized anyway. So it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, possibly. Dawn, can you answer Catherine's question real quick, because I can't remember. I did a whole video on the tanks and the oil consistencies and all that stuff, but I can't remember. It's too long ago. If they both, if each tank had a nozzle to drain the water from, I can't remember. Maybe you find something in your documents and we get back to Catherine.
I thought they have an overflow on each one of them, so that because water is heavier than the oil, or no, sorry, the water is lighter than the oil, so the
Lighter
water
than
rose
oil,
to
yeah.
the top. And they had these hoses that went into that secondary tank that you see outside, like a little swim pool, round swim pool. That's where the excess went into.
Yeah.
But he also said that, what the heck was it? It had been a year for him prior to being out there to drain any water because they weren't producing anything. So,
Right. Private Eye, I only understand 2 tanks if they went in days apart. Bella did apparently say what happened to Cece. Maybe he didn't want to open the first one Cece was put in. Did he take Bella home on Sunday? That's an interesting thought too. You know, I do believe, but that's my personal observation, that he was more attached to Bella than he was to Cece. But that's just my personal observation. I don't know what you guys think, but this is how I feel it, see it when I watch the videos and stuff. But yeah, that's a very interesting thought. I think anything in this case could be possible. I don't believe anything Chris Watts said. I don't believe that his quote unquote confession, neither the one from the interrogation room nor the one from Wisconsin, was honest and the truth. But yeah, why not? I mean, he was pretty distraught when the prosecution told the judge what kind of injuries Bella had, right? So,
yeah, but then he also had to ask, was it Tammy Lee, on what the injuries meant because he didn't know.
Yeah. Well, he definitely saw her injuries above her eyes, so even a expert said it was possible to move oil from a tank. Maybe the water truck guy was there that morning for a reason. Well, of course, it's possible to move oil from a tank, but you know, you would have to reverse the whole system in the overflow to put oil from a storage tank into the producing one. I don't see that. Not easy. It probably could be done technically, but no, these tanks were so old.
That's
Maybe
been
the water.
monitored too. And that would have showed up that they were removing oil from one to the other because that would have set off alarms.
You know, I
If they're
have
being monitored.
in that video I made, I put all the oil tank information. I can put it in the description box once this live stream is finished. So I have all the measurements, the build, how much oil was in what tank on what day. It's all in that data. You can actually look that up. I don't know if it's still existing since those tanks were abandoned and dismantled, but yeah, that was from the county, the information. So the water truck guy was there for a reason. I don't know. Maybe he just drained the water, because got to keep in mind that one tank was almost full, like, you know, but like I said, I'm not an expert. I don't know. Maybe he was there for a reason. Maybe somebody called him because they knew, right? We don't know. Okay, let's continue with this. And then we can discuss after. I just want to show you my presentation real quick. So what people also get wrong in the discovery, that different agencies like the Boulder Police Department, Frederick, CBI, and whatnot, they all worked this case. So every agency took in their evidence. Let's say CBI took fingerprints or whatnot. So the fingerprints then therefore would be in custody of CBI. Then Yoakum, I don't know what agency he was at, but he would take evidence, let's say, from the truck. So it belongs, he takes the property of what he finds into his agency. And that's the reason why in the discovery, all the evidence are tagged with different numbers. and this is the only reason, right? So every agency tags their piece of property or their piece of evidence with their individual evidence number. So as you can see here, oral swaps, for example, that's the agency's tag number 14685, while something else would be tag number 6, tag number 8, and so on and so on. Just wanted to say that just because, for completion. Okay, it should be noted that on the 4th of September, while running through the evidence submission list with lab tech Patricia Lopez, several items were listed that the CBI lab ultimately did not wish to take possession of at that time. Those items were crossed out on the evidence submission form, which has been added to the case file. The refused items are as follows. And I'm telling you this because my speculation is, I'm going to tell you in a second. So all the oral swaps, right? The Palmar swaps, the control swaps, Shannon, the driver's side seat cover from the work truck, the trace lift from the center console of the work truck, and the trace lift from back seat driver's side. The items were not the items that were not taken by CBI were transported back to the Frederick Police Department and checked into evidence, right? So, and I gotta show you the court, his plea agreement. So the oral swaps, all that what contains DNA were refused, meaning they did not test that either, right? So all the swaps the prosecution asked for, not the prosecution, the defense attorney of Chris Watts asked for, swaps to be taken from their necks, and so on and so on. You know that story. Were refused for testing, basically, or for storage. I cannot find anything in the discovery that these items that were refused by CBI were ever tested, right? That they refused to test or to take into their possession the drivers, all the half of the work truck stuff Mr. Yoakum found in his evidence collection session. I can only speculate that they did not have a search warrant as per se a search warrant, as in a search warrant, if that makes sense, right? Otherwise, they would have tested these items because they are pretty important to test. The driver's side seat covers. Then they can say, somebody else drove that truck, or somebody else was in that truck. We found fibers, we found hair, we found this, we found that. Nothing, right? The trace lift from the center console. They can say, somebody else was in there because we have a fingerprint, we have fibers, we have hair, whatever. The trace lift from the back seats, very important, because this would prove that either Shannon or the girls or both were transported with Chris's work truck, right? They did not test this stuff. I don't know why, because once it's in the tag lab, why not test it? You test the latent prints and the smear prints and whatever they found in the bags and all that stuff, but not these things. And I find that very, very suspicious. So that was on the 11th of September. They did refuse to test that stuff. And I'm going to go back and show you a different screen. It's just a feeling I have, right? But I don't know what you guys think. Let me get this. Is it that one? No, that's not this one. Where is his guilty plea? Is it that one? No, that's the seal. Just give me 1 second, you guys. As you know, I'm not prepared at all. That doesn't mean you guys cannot talk, John and Dave, while I'm searching.
Well, I was wondering if anybody had any questions so far, but I've really seen a couple, but we've answered. Is there any more?
I think I have a definitive argument against opening the manway. If Tanya can share
Share your
my,
screen?
yeah, please.
Yes,
Right.
because then I can look for that document real quick.
Please have a look. I will zoom in. The bottom row of the bolts for the manway is under the gravel.
Oh,
About 24
zoom that
bolts.
in anymore?
About 24 bolts are under the gravel.
Can you zoom in a little bit more?
Sure. Now tell me how much time you need to dig out the access for the manway.
Oh, wow.
Like
That's
I
a
said,
good argument.
there are 64 bolts and we only see 40 in this photo. And the rest of the 24 are under the gravel. The same for the other tank.
And this does not look disturbed to me.
Of course.
You know, the area where the sand and the gravel and all that is, it doesn't look like to me that this was recently disturbed, like dug up and put back. It looks very pretty smooth.
So I think that we can close this scenario.
Nanya Business says in the other pics you can see where the material is removed. You mean the when they took the girls out, right?
Yeah, when they're taking the girls out, you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to dig out.
All right, can I close this?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. So, written waiver and guilty plea. So this is his guilty plea agreement. He signed that and he was pleased with everything they said. One little thing I noticed is very much significant to this case. As we know, they dismissed stuff to test. They dismissed DNA, as you can see here in, where does it say? It comes further down. But in the written agreement, yeah, there's one box Chris Watts could have ticked, and that is the defendant objects to the disposition of the evidence in this case. He didn't. So what this means, basically, they are free to get rid of any evidence they want. And I believe that I don't believe, let's say it like this, I don't believe that they ever explained to him what this meant. They wanted to make sure that he cannot, or that he does not have a chance ever get back to court, ever. You know, and I personally don't believe a lot Chris Watts says, but one thing I did believe, because it came from his parents, when he said, when he walked out and saw her smirking at him, he wanted to go back and set everything right. And his lawyer told him, it's too late. This tells me that he had absolutely no frigging clue what was going on in that courtroom. He did not understand the proceedings or anything. He didn't. He totally, absolutely 100% thought his lawyers are working for him and everything they say, due to a lack of his experience with law enforcement, because there was none. I think he trusted them that everything they do is in favor of him, right? So he did not tick that little box. Now it goes further down here. These are all the counts he was charged with, formally charged with, and he pleads guilty to all charges, right? Then you have this here, the evidence disposition. The defendant understands that evidence being held by law enforcement agencies in this case could contain DNA. The parties stipulate that. First thing, the defendant's identification is a disputed issue. No, because they, I found that they took handprints, fingerprints, a photo, they filed a motion, but or they asked the court if they can do that, go back in prison. There's a video as well where fingerprints and a photo is taken of Chris. That's for identification purposes. Then law enforcement holds evidence that contains known DNA. What is ticked? No. That's a flat out lie. Of course, they are holding evidence that contains known DNA. The girl's swabs, Shanann's swabs, that all contains DNA. But it was refused to test, so why not get rid of it before it even comes out that they could test it, if that makes sense. Before somebody asks for it, why not get rid of it, right? So in his plea agreement, they just flat out lie and say law enforcement does not hold any evidence that contains known DNA. Well, at least the girls and Shanann's are known DNA samples. They even had a DNA card made for all the victims, including Nico. So to say that is a lie. Evidence that had not been tested could be subjected to a DNA test. Yes. So I thought there is no DNA. This case includes DNA evidence that should be preserved. No. Why not? Why not? Why not keeping the trace lifts? Maybe there was DNA, maybe there was a fiber, maybe there was a hair, maybe there was a fingerprint with DNA on it. Why shouldn't that be preserved? They had to make sure that he will never, ever fight this, or can never, ever get the opportunity to fight this. Never. Then it states further, evidence log provided in discovery. Yes, we have that. The defendant agrees that the court orders that law enforcement may discard, destroy, or return all items of evidence set forth on the attached log, and that evidence will be released according to the law enforcement agency's procedures, and the defendant waives any right to further notification before the evidence is released. A photo ID is required for released evidence. The representative of the defendant who may collect the property is Ronnie Watts. Many ask, why are they not giving him the phone? Simply because I showed you a from my own case that happened in my family, where I wanted the phone of my aunt and uncle, and they said it's not possible because if techniques, or how do I explain that? If that is further the technical side of things and the data, and if that is further in the investigation, they might go back into the phone and destruct data that wasn't possible 10 years ago, and that's why they want to keep it. So that's that.
The only thing is too is with the DNA. What I was talking about before is because they went to survey without a search warrant and picked up the sheets and the plastic bags that had the fingerprints in it and stuff like that. None of that could have been used in court, so that might have been one of the reasons why they put it in there to dispose of it, because they couldn't use it.
Exactly.
And it would make them look like, stupider than they are, because one of the biggest things was they said they never ever did work on a murder investigation before. The closest they ever got was to watching Dexter on TV, so that's why I was wondering about the DNA. Is that's why they destroyed it, is because it couldn't be used.
Yeah, I think that too. So here Officer Valley again goes to the crime scene to collect. He's a different agency. He's from Frederick Police Department. So, and then you can see here what the CBI took in as evidence. They took in the pillowcase with residue, other pillowcases, the top sheet with residue, the blue glove, the black plastic bag, another black plastic bag, gray and white bed sheet. This is what the CBI was interested in. Then they took the rake head, the rake handle, the suspected hair from East Oil Tank, the blonde hair they found, the partial rake handle, all the swaps. They made nail clippings and all that stuff. So you guys tell me if there wasn't any known DNA, right? So
Welcome, Kimberly. Did you see her comment that she left, TJ?
no, I'm looking on my phone, but hi, Kimberly. No, I did not see. And the fact, this is the second plea deal, which was presented to him after Rourke returned from the visit with the R's at their home in
right.
NC. The first plea deal was presented to him prior to the NC trip.
Yeah,
Yes.
and Rourke
Yes,
said there was only
absolutely.
one, and he lied about that.
You're
And then
absolutely correct, Kim.
the second one, that's when he came back, and that's when all the kids, well, everybody's medical records were sealed.
Yeah, and the first plea he had was something, and I personally don't believe that the first that this was the first deal that was offered by his defense. I believe, as we all know, that his defense wrote an email to Wren. When was it? I believe the 24th or the 26th of August, offering a plea agreement if the death penalty is taken off the table, right? So they drafted a plea, flew to North Carolina. We're talking to the Rusek family, then flew back, and then they came up with this. So I'm asking myself, why did they put all these things in the plea agreement? Like getting rid of DNA, not saying anything. Like, I mean, I do understand that the family has some sort of say when it comes to penalties. I do get that, right? That families can say, you know what, I want the death penalty for this person, or I don't want the death penalty for this person.
Right, but the death penalty was already coming off of Colorado's books.
No, I think that has a different reason.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I think that has a totally different reason. If you take a plea, especially a plea agreement that is that thorough with getting rid of evidence, DNA, and that he waives all the rights, and I can link that up in the description box once this live stream is finished. You can read for yourself his whole plea agreement. States in the plea agreement that he waives all rights he ever has. Everything. He waives everything. He cannot do nothing unless there is new evidence. Right? So what they did was the following, and I gotta change my screen again. I'm sorry, I wanted to show you that later on. But it states in Colorado law, and I'm coming to the reason why I feel like this is different and why they wanted him to take the plea other than the death penalty that was anyway pulled. Hold on, where is it? Oh man. Since that new update, you know, before that update, my computer always told me, oh, this page and this page, and there were numbers on it and everything. And now it's just not, it's just mixed up. All right, I got it. All right. This is withdrawing a guilty plea in a criminal case. Yeah? Sometimes a defendant may accept a plea bargain and then change their mind, especially if they receive a harsh sentence. Makes sense. They may be able to withdraw their guilty plea depending on the state and the stage at which they decide to withdraw it. This usually means that the case will be reset to the stage before the plea bargain was reached. Okay? So if he comes out saying, you know, for whatever reason, I want to withdraw my plea, and a judge accepts that and says, okay, Mr. Watts, your plea withdrawing is accepted, you go to trial. Then the whole investigation would be set to the day before the plea agreement was signed. And they had nothing. Nothing. All they had was a little bit here, a little bit there. They couldn't take the sheet. They couldn't take any footage from the first drone. They couldn't take any garbage bags they found out there. No rake handle, no fingerprints, no nothing, because they did not have a search warrant for this. Right? So this was not admissible in court. Then it states further, this usually means that the case will be blah, blah, blah. I already read that. The prosecutor and the defense can negotiate a new plea, or the case can move forward to trial. Sometimes the judge will dismiss the charges if the defendant withdraws their plea based on new evidence of their innocence. Okay? This is what we just saw. They basically they cornered him in this agreement. He has no chance to get out of this agreement unless there is new evidence. Okay? So, if a judge has not yet accepted a guilty plea, the defendant likely can withdraw the plea. They also may be able to withdraw the plea if the judge has not yet sentenced them. Okay? So, his defense attorney saying in the hallway, it's too late. That is absolutely wrong. Because his defense attorney should have known this, lead him back into the courtroom and say, Judge Kopkow, my client just said he wants to set this right. And the judge would have had to accept this. So it's his own defense that fucked up, right? However, a defendant may face difficulties. And this is very, very important what comes now. difficulties in withdrawing plea once the judge had sentenced them. Withdrawing a plea at this stage may require showing that allowing the conviction to stand would result in clear injustice. Okay, go prove that. Prove that there was injustice. A judge may deny a request to withdraw a plea if it would harm the prosecution's ability to prove its case or the defendant agreed to waive the right to an appeal. And this, I have to make it really big, and I read it again. A judge may deny a request to withdraw a plea if it would harm the prosecution's ability to prove its case. Do you understand what that means? What did they do in his plea agreement? They agreed that parts or all evidence may be destroyed. Yeah? So if what comes in front of a judge and says, I want to withdraw my plea agreement because that wasn't right. Yeah, something wasn't right, or somebody else was involved and I'm feeling now I want to talk, right? The judge is looking at the prosecution and says to the prosecution, hey, Rourke, do you have all the evidence from back then? Would you be able to prove that the defendant is guilty or not guilty? And then Rourke comes around the corner and says, I'm sorry, Judge Kopkow, or whoever does it, but all the evidence was destroyed. What does the judge do? Of course, he denies the request to withdraw the plea deal. Why? Because it would harm the prosecution's ability to prove the case. I rest my case. And this is what they did. Sneaky assholes. Sneaky, 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 sneaky. Okay, back to the Ruseks. The prosecution knew. They know these things. They know the law, right? They just know. They are prosecutors. They are lawyers. You would think they know the law, okay? If you take a plea agreement to that extent, what took it? You have almost no chance unless there is new evidence that could prove that you're not guilty of all or parts of the charges. Yeah? With the death penalty, however, even though it was almost abolished, a death penalty inmate always has the rights to appeal. Always. First, he has his, after sentencing, they get a date for them being put to death. This is an automatic appeal in the state of Colorado. So the defendant or the inmate has not to doesn't need to file for something. It's going automatically. That's the first one. And then he always can challenge his sentencing. Always. However, they knew that, right? Even though the death penalty is abolished since 2020 in Colorado, there are still death row inmates. And these death row inmates, even though they don't, execute anyone anymore, they still can appeal their cases because they have the right to, because they were death row inmates. Totally different sentencing, totally different law. If they had sentenced Chris to death, he would have automated appeals. And their worry was, talking about plea agreements behind our backs with certain people. Their main goal was to shut him up. Not because the poor family said, we don't want any more deaths in this family. And that was the only reason. They did not want him to say anything. They did not want him to ever have a chance to appeal this. That's over. He can appeal lesser sentences. That time is over. It's over 4 years. And now he's sitting there. And unless there is new evidence that can be proven, he has no chance, no matter if he talks or not. If he decides that his memory came back for some reason, and he says, all right, I'm gonna say everything, then there is new evidence that must be proven by his then lawyer. But it's on him then to prove. First, it's the state to prove somebody's guilt or innocence. If he appeals, it's on him to prove, or on his defense team to prove his guilt or innocence. And I don't see that happening whatsoever. I rest my case. I don't believe in general that they give a rat's ass, especially when it comes to other plea agreements that was made and done behind the public's backs with certain people, that they want this ever to come out. No way. No way. Why were they the only ones interviewed by the FBI and not CBI? Why? We don't see any files or any evidence or any documents from FBI in the discovery. Nothing. None. Nada. And I believe that is for a reason. And the reason, you always get the standard answer or the standard email. I'm sorry that we cannot permission you requested because this does not concern public interest. This is all you get, right? They threw him under the bus. He was too stupid to ask. He was probably in the belief that, oh, my defense, they will, they are experts, they will do this. And there also was a reason that Cindy did not get to see her son. There is a letter that the Watts family addressed to Judge Kopkow. They were never addressed. She raised her concerns that she's feeling that something is fishy. I can actually show you that letter if you guys want. I have it here somewhere. Have it here somewhere. And that's not an opinion. That's, you see it in black and white on my screen. Like, this is the law. This is court stuff. I'm not making this shit up. All right. This was filed November. Judge Kopkow, I'm writing to you on the behalf of Cindy Watts, the mother of Christopher Watts. Since the time Chris's arrest, his entire family has been denied contact with him. They attempted to contact him by phone, by email, and in person, and were denied by the Public Defender's Office each time. By the Public Defender's Office. So that should ring all alarm bells there ever is. Why would you deny a mother to see her son? Why? Because he already knew that Cindy probably could have talked to him, and she would have had the power over him to say, Chris, say something. And they did not want this to happen. They had these plans, and they pulled through with their plan from August the 24th. So it reads, the night before the hearing, they were allowed to visit him for 30 minutes each, father, mother, and sister, which is the first contact they've had since arrest. During the meeting, his mother attempted to ask him if this was what he really wanted, a plea deal, and was told, do not ask him that, or we will shut this shit down now, by the attorney present. Imagine that, you guys. Your defense, normally a defense attorney, he wants, well, if I'm a client and I'm an offender, I'm telling my defense attorney what he can do and what not, right? And if I tell him, listen, you do this and you do that, they're working for me. They gotta work for me. They gotta do what's best for me. This guy only did what's best for him, getting a job offer. Do not ask him that, or we will shut this shit down now. Can you imagine that coming from a defense? They have felt threatened and bullied when all they want to do is see their son and make sure this is his plea, since that is not what his original confession was. The family feels that Chris has been coerced into making this confession. He has been isolated the entire 3 months and had contact with no one except the attorneys and his jailers. Well, no, not really, because he was isolated. The family feels he has been told by the public defender that he has no other options than to take this plea and has therefore accepted his fate. However, they don't actually know the facts since they are not allowed to speak to Chris. Since the November 6th hearing, the family has called the public defender's office numerous times, and they have been rerouted each time to a social worker. Social worker. It is the opinion of Mr. Watt's family that he has been coerced, has been denied his constitutional rights, and more, all in an attempt to quickly close this case. They want to have a new attorney speak to Chris on their behalf to determine if this is a true confession or one that is based on inhumane treatment at the hands of the public defender's office of Weld County. So, at least then, when a judge reading this, he must be thinking like, what the fuck is going on here? I'm gonna ask what's going on. But he never did. So, was he in this? If they had not been denied access to Chris, then they would not be forced to contact you or equal justice for their son. So the judge doesn't give a shit either. Today, Mrs. Watts has left 2 voicemails with your office, which is closed for the holiday. She would like to speak with you about this matter and to find out why their family is being denied access to Chris and to make sure he is receiving fair treatment under our Constitution. Her number is blah, blah, blah. She will accept your call at any time and is aware I have reached out to you. Isn't that ridiculous? Isn't that ridiculous? Dawn, Dave, isn't that ridiculous? Am I gone?
No, it's not. No, but I wanted you to clarify one small thing. People would think that we are advocating for Chris's innocence by mentioning all this.
No. Hell no. Absolutely no.
Okay.
This is not to show he's innocent in any way, shape, or form, right? This is just to show you guys that they had nothing and that they are corrupt, in my opinion. They had nothing, and he did not know that. They hid evidence, they destroyed evidence, and they They executed searches where there was no warrant for. Collected evidence without a search warrant, put it into the evidence logs, knowing that they could never, ever, ever use that in court. And they knew that. And this is why they pushed him to take that plea. So it's the same thing over and over, unless there is no new evidence. Yeah? He cannot go to court and say, listen, there's new evidence. We can prove this and that. And I gotta say this real quick. I believe it's my feeling. I don't know what you guys think, but I believe that I have, especially with the data, especially with the interviews, especially with all the discoveries I've made over the past year, I have proven so much that he could use for his defense, that he could use when he gets an attorney. Sorry, Dave, I have to mute. Yeah, thank you. You know, all the data, the router, all these things, they didn't look at this. As soon as he took the plea, the clock stopped working. You know, I feel like that I have proven many, many things that he could use, because it doesn't make sense at all, right? But he's refusing. And I don't understand what the holdup is, what the reason is. You know, he had so many people, if I can say that real quick, so many people who tried to do good, who tried to help him, who got him lawyers pro bono, who, you know, we sent him the power of attorney stuff for his dad. We did all these things. Other creators did all these things. Look at Lana, look at whoever helped in this case. Yeah, no matter what was, with their personal stories or whatever, but just, you know, obviously she wanted to help, as did many creators. And he always says no in the last minute. Why? I don't understand. I don't understand that he's refusing help people give to him. Then he said once to his dad, yeah, if there's new evidence, then I'm gonna fight this, I promise. Well, how much evidence do you want? Nothing is coming back from this guy. Nothing. He's playing a game, in my opinion, a game of some sort. I don't make sense out of this. How stupid can you be? People offer you help. People sitting there, thousands of hours, honestly, right? Instead of playing with my children, I was sitting on my couch reading the discovery, day in, day out, after work, on the weekends, going live, doing this, doing that, and nothing. And I feel like that I have proven enough over the years, or over the past year, let's say, ever since I have that YouTube channel. And I mean, Ronnie and Cindy, yes, they you know, they take that with open arms because they want answers. But he's refusing everything. Like playing dumb. Oh, I lost my memory. Oh no, next day I didn't lose my memory. Oh no, I lost my memory again.
Oh, he's a coward hiding under amnesia.
Broken dishes. Thank you so much again. I did not see that.
You ever
Absolutely,
wonder
Wonder Woman.
You ever wonder why Sandy wanted Shanann's suitcase so bad that she had NA send it to her? And then ever wonder why the Dave would want it back, even though anything that they found in it, they wouldn't be able to use in court because everything would be contaminated because Sandy would have been through everything.
Listen, Dave, it may sound harsh, yeah, but this residue on the sheets and whatnot, A blind person with a walking stick could see that this is no makeup.
Right. But even if they're claiming it was makeup, Shanann had makeup on her, so did it not match the makeup that Shanann was wearing? And that's why
But
they
we don't know
wanted
if
it
she
back?
had makeup on her.
Yeah, we can
We
only go
don't
by
know.
the pictures of the airport from when she had her, what do you want to call it, late night snack and drink. So, but she had makeup on there.
Yeah.
I would have looked for secret pockets in that suitcase before returning it.
This was my thought. What was in that suitcase that she wanted it so bad? Sorry to say, you guys, but I'm really not an asshole in any way, shape, or form. I do feel for families. I do feel, but something is fishy and something is shady. It just is, and I'm sick of walking on eggshells. Something's not right, in my opinion.
Oh, of course, we have to say it clearly. Everything is suspect.
Yeah.
And I would like to add something to your question about why would he refuse to remember or say anything. Like you said,
he knows exactly what went on. I
okay,
don't
but
believe that.
the more we looked into the details of the case, the more obvious became there was some other powerful evidence against him before his voluntary confession given to agents Temily and Graham Coder. Remember how fast the law enforcement cleared the crime scene and the sloppy way they gathered the so-called evidence.
Of course, they cleared the crime scene really quick. There was nothing there.
Not
Nothing.
only that, what I want to point is that he was confronted with two statements given by Nicole Kessinger and Troy McCoy. This is the reason I think he keeps silent.
Yeah, of course. In this live stream, I just wanted to show you guys, that everything makes sense law-wise. What they did was a strategy, and that they used his, that he had no knowledge of the law, that he was in belief that that they do that for him, his defense. And next live stream, what I imagined in my head is I'm gonna put a little kind of like timeline together where you can clearly see black on white or red on white or red on black how it all unfolded, like what dates were where, when did they speak with each other, when was something agreed. So you can see that this all falls into place once you see that in a real timeline, right? So when you have a timeline, you see things that are missing, but you also see a pattern of some sort. And I think when I do that, you will see a pattern and a strategy behind all this. Because why refusing to test or to take into possession certain things, so they cannot be tested, or it takes longer to test. So they buy more time to talk to him, that he takes their plea agreement very, very quickly and all that, right? So I just want to go through with you here. What do you think they had as evidence if they couldn't take the drone footage, for example, or the stuff the drone found? All of this would be crossed out. The bag, the sheets, the rake, the hair, everything would be not admissible in court.
And possibly too, if you okay, because they said originally there were 3 places where the ground was disturbed. 2 was where the sheet was found, and then of course where Shanann's grave was. But who knows what they did that they're not showing us? They're only showing us snapshots. Like, were these guys walking all over the place? You know, did they start digging up Shanann's grave? We don't know because they're not showing any of that.
Yeah. Sweet Crazy, I have not brought out my documentary yet. But I can give you an estimate date because yesterday I received the next 10 minutes. I changed a little bit, but I think it's processing, and an estimate is end of March, if that helps. Okay. All right. Then the vehicle, the truck, I mean the SUV, he gave consent to search anyway, right? But I have not found a search warrant for the truck. I have found, what I found was the permission to tow it away, the permission for the impound, but a search warrant as is, like a signed search warrant, I have not found in the discovery. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I tend to believe there is not.
See,
Because
that
we
there
don't
would have
see it.
had to go through Anadarko too, because that was Anadarko's vehicle.
That was Anadarko's vehicle, right?
Yeah, so they would have to give consent.
Yes, and they're hesitant anyway, because if we remember back, Tommy Lee asked, "Oh, I want, can you please give me all that stuff, like his emails and his phone?" And she wanted GPS and that. And Apple told her flat out, "Listen, I have to talk to our department for whatever they talk to and get their permission, and then they will come back to you and issue a written statement," right? So it's not that easy that they say, "All right, yeah, no problem, you can search whatever," right? So they have to make sure too. So what would have been not admissible in court if there was no search warrant for the truck? And then even if they took that stuff out, it depends on when the search warrant was actually drafted, right? Because as we saw with the same thing with the drone footage, sometimes it's only half an hour. So let's say they search the truck by impound at 7 p.m. and the search warrant comes through at 8 p.m. Everything they did in that hour prior, they cannot use, right? So it would be the shovel, the round one, the square one, the sickle, the gas can, the swabs from the steering wheel, the black, oh my God, the black plastic bags from the floor, the driver's side front seat cover, the passenger side seat cover, the black rubber boots, trace lifts from center console, trace lifts from the driver's side, trace lifts from the passenger side, and the cigarette lighter from the passenger side front door panel. Yeah? So, I believe that I know the reason why they wouldn't take into possession these 3 things of the truck. Yeah? Because the other stuff they took, but the driver's side seat cover they didn't, the trace lift from the center console they didn't, and the trace lift from the back seat, which is the most important thing. He said he transported them in the back seat. Yeah? So maybe this was recovered as evidence before there was a search warrant. I don't know. I just can't imagine that this is what happened. So what would actually be left, right? If they cannot use all these things, there would be left the brown boots from the Lexus, a white shirt from the Lexus, and miscellaneous paperwork. And of course, all the all the stuff they took as evidence during the autopsy. And that's it. That's absolutely it. Everything else, no way. So as you can see, there's very, very little. Very, very, very little. And I don't understand. I mean, in my opinion, he has a chance to at least, well, I wouldn't say he has a chance. I think his worry is if he says, yeah, okay, this is not, let's say we present him the evidence or whatever, right? As we did so many times before. And then he says, all right, I'm not going to do it anyways, no matter how much evidence you have, because this would require him to talk. So if a judge, in case he is withdrawing his plea, a judge could say, okay, this goes to trial unless you guys agree on a new deal, right? He wouldn't do that either, no matter how much evidence there is, because he does not want anyone to know what really went down. Because if this, let's say he withdraws, this goes to trial, then he has to say everything. Then all the evidence will be pulled out, right? Something is holding him back. And I don't believe that this is only the thought of, I got to go back to Colorado. No way. I don't believe it. I think there are different other things that he is, he's pressured into not saying. Let's put it this way. All right, the prints. I just want to go through with you real quick, and then we can have a little discussion. On the 11th of October, it states, I received a copy of CBI laboratory reports from reporting sections, latent prints, and digital evidence analysis. So the digital evidence is this woman did all her work on the phone. She was pretty good. She left out a few things for whatever reason, and we don't have everything, but she did a pretty good job. What happened to that woman? She was fired, taken off, and somebody else from CBI did take over in the forensic testing of the digital evidence. Makes no sense to me, but this is what happened. Anyways, so they're testing. What did they test? The gloves they found in the house, the black plastic bags they found on scene, the rake head, the rake handle, the partial rake handle, the fingerprints from Shanann, the roll of black trash bags they found in the work truck, debris from item 7. What is item 7? So the content of the first plastic bag, then the debris from item 8, also a plastic bag, paper evidence bag. Of course, when you put evidence in a paper bag, there is some sand or whatever in the bag, so they test that as well. And hair collected from inside of item 8. What is item 8? The black plastic bag. So 8 latent prints, items 701 to 708, suitable for comparison, were observed or developed on item 7. No latent prints suitable for comparison were observed or developed on items 8, 10, 13, or 38. Just because there were no latent prints suitable for comparison does not mean there weren't any. Okay, they were just not suitable. Item 11 was not suitable for latent print analysis, the rake handle, which I do believe anyway that this rake handle or the rake itself, if you look at it, I don't think this has anything to do with this case at all. I think that he that's what this was out there for ages. It went through the weather and rusty and broken and all that. items 7.1, 7.2, 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3 were removed from items 7 and 8 and retained in packet trace 1 and packet trace TRA 1 was not suitable for latent print analysis and will be forwarded for analysis in other disciplines. Item 6 and 35 will be analyzed at a future date. What's item 6? The glove. And 35, the fingerprints from Shanann Watts. Why? 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 You know, that glove, you can have fingerprints on the inside. Yeah, so you can determine who wore the gloves. So isn't it weird that item 6, the glove, and Shanann's fingerprints won't be analyzed? Why? Why? Makes no sense. If I test something or analyze something, why not testing them like right away? I do all the other stuff, but why not testing those two things? So item 6, the glove and Shanann's fingerprints, they didn't. They just did not test it. We have to accept that. For whatever reason they did it, it didn't do it. It doesn't make sense to me, but they just didn't. Then latent 701 through 708 were entered into the state database, and a candidate list was generated for each. Based on these lists, no identifications were made. The latents were retained and will continue to be searched against new records entered in the database. If an identification is made in the future, the submitting agency will be notified. Then the same latents were suitable for entry into the federal database, but were not entered into the at this time due to the unknown anatomical origin of the friction-ridge impressions. Clear and complete major case prints, to include palm prints, fingerprints, and barefoot impressions of Christopher Lee Watts and Shanann C. Watts, as well as any other party of interest, are required for comparisons to be completed. So they didn't do anything. Then they, when was this report? That was date of submission, September the 4th. And date of report was the October the 1st. So now let's see, because I have that as well. Let's see at what date Rourke asked the court to take fingerprints and footprints and whatnot prints from where was it? That wasn't it. That wasn't it. Plea agreement, we had that already. Letter. Here. Oh, I gotta share with you. Stop this real quick. Show a different screen. Is it that one? Let's see. Yeah. So, as I just showed you, this was entered September the 4th, and you see a pattern here. Rourke goes to court and files a motion for a non-testimonial identification procedure on Chris Watts. And he files that on September the 26th. So 3 weeks later, he's filing. Not that he says, hey, we need your footprints or your fingerprints or whatever prints from you, because we want to compare those to the evidence we found. No, He goes to court and says, for identification purposes, we need from the defendant buckle swaps, digital photographs of both right and left hands, major case finger palm footprints, and a clear and visible Polaroid photograph. This is what he requests for identification purposes. But isn't it a coincidence that the crime scene analyst or the lab found fingerprints, footprints, handprints, whatnot on the bags? He knows that he cannot use it. So what does he do? I'm going to go to court and get my identification, non-testimonial stuff from the defendant because I'm going to test it anyway. See what a sneaky man he is, right? Yeah, I'm going to put all that into the right order with all the dates in the right order. And yeah, hold on. Was there anything else? No. Where was it? Yeah. So I just noted in my notes that was August the 26th that the defense offers a plea agreement in exchange for the death penalty to be taken off the table. But after what we learned, like the disgusting behavior of them, oh, we're shutting everything down. I mean, who says that as a defense attorney? That absolutely baffles me. All right, I'm done with my presentation. We take any question. And then we rest our case and go to bed. Dawn, you still up? Dave?
Yes, I'm here. Awaiting questions.
Yeah. So, who's not respectful in chat, Catherine? They didn't test anything because they closed the case. Exactly. And very early on, you know? Very early on.
William has a question.
What's that?
William has a question, but he doesn't say what it is.
I have a question. Shoot. Oh my God, it's 4 a.m. here. I'm not tired at all. I had an old lady 3-hour nap today, and I was bowling with my son. That was nice. Okay, William, come on. Why did CW murder? Why did CW murder his family? Is that your question? Well, we can only speculate, you know. Nobody knows the real reasons behind that. I think that how do I put this without being stoned? I believe that this did not happen overnight. I believe this was an ongoing thing in his head that he took. I mean, a man or a woman or a human being can only take so much. Yeah. For some people, it takes a year, a week, a day. For some people, it takes 8 years to flip. Right? So, in my opinion, this is nothing what happened overnight. It built up so that he made this ultimate decision, whether there was a plan or not. Right? I don't know, Dawn or Dave, what you guys think? What could be the motive?
Well, for me, I think the whole thing with NK telling CW how much everything was going to cost, because he'd have to buy another vehicle, he'd have to buy or rent, I should say, an apartment, and he did want the girls, so he would have to buy bunk beds and everything else. So he's more or less starting over. Plus, she put in his head for alimony and paying for lawyer and everything else. So that would be one motive. But you go back to Chris, and he really didn't say he killed anybody, because in his first confession, and only confession, because the other ones don't count, he said that I did to her what she did to the girls. And it was them that said, strangulation. And then he said that she killed both the girls. So he never said he killed anybody. And really, they never proved that he did. Just that he took the plea agreement and said that he did it. But if you go back to Chris, his first court appearance, he's still there thinking that he only killed Shanann because Shanann killed the girls. And if you look at Chris in the courtroom, he's there looking at the judge's bench, and he's staring there, and his knees just go and his foot's going. He's not even listening to what's going on. So when they come up and say that, he killed all three of them, he wouldn't have heard that. But yet his attorneys that were there let it go through, even though them knowing what had taken place, where he said that, no, I only did to her what she did to the girls. Shanann killed the girls. So what happened overnight? That's what gets me.
Well, probably his defense attorney came into his cell and said, listen, I have a job offer with the prosecution's office, and we can do this right now, or it will take forever. I don't know. I don't believe a word he's saying. Do we know if Chris was followed everywhere when he went to pick up his dad from the airport? Could he have gone back out to Serbia first? No, I don't think so, because I believe it's Nick or Amanda Thayer. They stayed in their interviews when he left their house in the morning. So there was no time to go back out Serbia.
Yeah, but you go back some more, though, because they were watching him and they seen him load up, I think it was blankets and something else, backpacks or something, into the car. And they started following him, and the next thing you know, they're calling him on the phone, telling him to go to the police station. So where was he going? Because he didn't end up going there. And then what was it, the second night? They followed him up into the Thayer's house, and as soon as the garage door closed, then they called off watching NK's house and the Thayer's house. Everybody went home. So anything could happen in between that time.
That makes me think of something. Before they had his phone, and before they had anything, this one sergeant, I can't remember his name, he states in his report that, on Monday they followed him. On Tuesday they followed him. And they did not have his phone until that day, later on, when he went into police to give them the phone for extracting the data, right? But this guy, I can't remember his name. I would have to look in the discovery. He states that on Tuesday, when he left for going to the police station, they thought that he will go to Claude something apartment where she lives. So I'm asking myself, how did he get that information? Because by that time they didn't have his phone or anything, so they didn't know of NK when he left the house to go to the police station. I never understood how he got that information and where he got that information from. They surveillanced him, and he drove around, and he informed his officers, the executing officers of the surveillance, that he might be driving to NK's apartment. After that, he said, okay, it was false alarm. I was just informed that he is meeting up with Coder. And then we see Chris in the police station on Tuesday. And then he hands over his phone. So where does the sergeant have the information from where NK lives, and that this has anything to do with Chris. This is what I never understood.
Well, you
Very,
can go
very.
with Juanita too, because Troy McCoy's wife ends up calling the resource line to talk about Shanann and the
Yeah, but
girls,
we
but
don't
yet,
know if that was McCoy's wife. It
well,
just states to
it
Anita.
seems kind of odd that Juanita has called and
It is
actually
odd.
knows about it, right?
It
But
is
they never followed
absolutely
up
odd.
with that. And then with that psychic calling in too, there was no phone number saying who the psychic was. It's just that a psychic had called. So who's not to say that could have been her again? You know, it's like, why don't they follow up on this stuff other than them saying, well, we've never worked on a murder case, but they've had to work on like a break and entry or something at least.
Right. Miranda, can you please rephrase your question? I don't understand what you mean. Isn't it possible that Troy could have talked to Cody without codeine or when Chris was there? I don't understand what that means. Don Joe, what is your opinion on who else was involved?
Yeah, I will ask to this question, but first I would like to remember everybody my opinion on why Chris was killed. Please don't expect a rational explanation for a irrational act, which is family annihilation. Please bear that in mind. Nothing is rational when you kill 4 people. That being said, I can list a few things that I think got through his mind. Like, he hated Shanann big time.
Yeah.
Again, for many reasons that we can perceive by reading between the lines. Financial, behavioral, etc. Then, of course, the answer is not simple as everything in life. It is a combination of things.
I'm sorry, you
So,
guys. Excuse me for 1 second, please.
so other than hating Shanann, he felt trapped. He felt suffocated because he didn't feel loving Shanann anymore. And on the other hand, he met another woman that treated him differently, make him understand there is another way of another kind of relationship with a woman. He felt somehow empowered, and for the first time, he felt that he can stand up. That woman offered him the possibility of starting a new life, but sadly conditioned by erasing his past. He offered him the possibility of giving birth to a child for him. But as I said, that came with a price, killing his entire family. Like I said, everything is very debatable. Keep in mind, this is what a murderer thinks. Now, the other question was if who I believe there is, what other person I think they were involved. There are 2 persons that we already know about, Nicole Kessinger and Troy McCoy. It is in their statement. And for the other person, I can't say they are involved, but they are suspect, like I always said. The main person I consider a suspect is Sandra Rucek. The other person that I find having suspect behavior was Nicole Atkinson and her son. And maybe other helpers like Nate. Let's say only him for now. I spoke a lot about the network of those suspects. If you want to see in detail what I said, please review previous videos.
Yeah. Dave, do you have by any chance the pictures of the tanks where they took out Cici and Bella?
Yeah. Yeah,
Can you send them my way?
the containment container, I just sent you that too, didn't I? Yeah, I did.
Just now?
No, is that yesterday? Yesterday or the day before? They couldn't put them in body bags because of the oil that they were in, the crude oil, so they put them in these containment containers to transport them to the morgue.
William, what's the matter in chat? Nobody's blocking you. All I said, in my opinion, was that CW was mentally abused for years. This case is about mental health, infidelity, jealousy, and greed, and no one talks about it. Yes, I do, because this is what I just stated, that this built up over years, right? And a person
talk
can
about
take
it all
only
the time.
so much. And I say something and get bashed. Who's bashing you? You guys, nobody gets bashed on my channel for stating their opinion,
Yeah, I am amazed that he's saying that.
Yeah, please be nice to each other. Life is shitty as it is, so we don't have to be fighting on YouTube. Okay.
No, I doubt that anyone bashed him.
I don't know. I did not read up on the whole chat. No, you didn't send me those. I meant the pictures of where the firemen, and the hazmat team and all them. I wanna see the bolts, and then also I remember. I just want to show you that it is really true that half of that manhole door was under gravel.
Yeah, them other ones, I'll have to wait to show you them ones. They're way back. I posted them ones.
They dug out a bit of. I don't seem to find them anymore. And then you can see nobody said that these bolts were rusty, as in proven rusty. But imagine, these tanks were like, when did they got up? Like, I believe it was 1995 or so. And that these bolts were rusty, that's obviously.
They stayed in the elements for 20 some years. I said they were rusty based on my experience with things that I worked on. For instance, on cars, which stayed less than 20 years in the elements. And you can look at the rest of the pipes, how badly rusted they are.
Yeah, that's true. I had some pictures when I was talking about the oil tanks, and there you can see some more pictures. I even found pictures of 3319 from 95, from 2000, from 2005, and there's a lot of pictures in there. TJ, Miranda has a great point. The codeine thing was a typo. She's saying What if the call with Cody about the leak with Troy McCoy had already ended and Troy McCoy faked it, and that's why Cody didn't know? Huh. Okay, I gotta read that again. What if the call with Cody about the leak with TM already ended? Oh, you mean, Don, you want to say something?
Now, too convoluted for me and too complex for such thing. I understand what she's saying, like faking that the conversation didn't end. But while possible, it is you have a too good opinion of Troy McCoy. He is not that clever. He's a liar. Okay, he
Oh,
can
an
fake many
absolute
things.
liar.
Yeah, but too complex for such a low price.
I don't believe that this call. I mean, I do believe that this call happened, but I don't believe that that Chris Watts was standing next to McCoy. They knew that was a plot between them, and this is what I believe because the evidence points towards this. Why was the water truck guy out there to extract water from the oil? You also gotta keep in mind, you guys. You know what? I'm gonna pull this. I'm gonna pull this video up real quick because people think it's thick crude oil and it's like black and dark, and no, it's not. There are also people bathing in crude oil. It's good for your skin, apparently. Hold on, I gotta go to my channel. I cannot. Maybe I can find it real quick, but what's the tanks? Let's see. When was it? Then I can put the link up. Crude oil tanks. Was it that one? Yeah, that was it. Hold on. I can share the link and you guys can watch it or not later on. Just want to show some things. Where do I have it? So I have, what do I have here? We have everything. Here, for example, I have in this video, there's a lot of good information concerning exactly those tanks. Like this is what Don showed you already. Then here, and then the extraction of crude oil. See, no mask worn. Crude oil is depending on the quality from clear to dark brown. And I have a specific, I have specifications on exactly 319. Was it that video? Oh, here, look, we found it by mistake. See, this is what Don meant when he said there's like half of the door was under rubble and sand. You see,
they had to dig out the gravel.
Yeah. Do we see the do we see? No, we don't see the bolts. But yeah,
Is that
everything
is that a still Is that a still photo?
Yeah,
Okay.
there are no videos here, maybe. Nope. But yeah. I mean, look at the rake handle. That's not different. This was under the weather too. I personally don't believe that. Look at this. It's all old. The insulation is like ripped. Or is that a piece of cardboard? I don't know. Looks like insulation to me. Well, yeah, it came a little bit under the weather. You see the insulation on the manhole. It's like deformed. I don't know if you could put that back. And you would have to dig it out anyway. You know, half of those doors were. See, this is the. Just to show you real quick, I have all that information for every day, what they extracted, what they sold, what how much oil was in those tanks, the exact diameters. It says here, where was it? So it's here, the hole size is given with 12.25 inches. The inner hole size is given with 8.625 inches. It's all there. You can read it all there. You see? Just check it out. The video is not, it's not bad. Like I did a lot of crude oil. That's not the crude oil facts video, but this is about, it's called Crime Scene Survey 319, the crude oil tanks. And I had another one that's only for, maybe I can find that as well. Well, you can find it somewhere in my library of videos. I had like a facts video about, oh, here it is, the truth about Survey 319, it's called. I just put the link up in the chat and you guys can look at it or whatever you want. Okay, any more questions before I go to bed? Yeah, Kira, just watch the video. It's all the original from the government's website or the county's website. You can search basically for any oil well site.
You can check your messenger.
Yeah, I can check my messenger.
Yes, please.
Yeah, this is basically what I just showed, isn't it? Ah, that's a good, oh, that's a good one. That's a real good. Hold on, give me a second to download this real quick. It's so close.
That and I
But we
included.
don't see the holes.
No, all you can see is the holes in the back of it when he's holding up the back of the tank or the cover.
Mm.
Did you want one of the gate? You can tell
No.
it's never like the gate is itself is too short for the opening. So that there was supposed to be locked, and it never was. It was wide open.
Nah, it doesn't matter.
Okay,
We know that the gate
I'll be
wasn't.
putting them on your Facebook anyway. So
Oh,
and a
cool.
bunch of other new photos.
Thank you. Hold on. I just want to show you that real quick. That one, definitely. And yeah, you can see where they're standing right in, like knee deep.
Yeah.
Look at this. You know, that's like knee deep in. So they had to dig up quite a bit to get to those openings.
You
Or
can see
to-
right behind him the pile where they actually piled up the gravel in order to open that up.
Yeah, I'd say that they dug up about her foot.
Yeah. The thingies are still in there. Huh. Pretty much deformed. But yeah, that's due to the weather, I guess. And the other one I want to show you is, where is it? This one. Yeah. So you see Tammy Lee? You
So
guys see
that
that?
is a containment container because they couldn't put them in body bags.
So that's basically the container where the girls were in. That one? Oh, horrible. Absolutely horrible. Don't want to look at this no more. Okay. Ugh. Why are these in what shore, Melina? What are we sure of? Talks to Cody and hangs up. Then Chris says he'll go to survey. This could be why Cody didn't know that Chris was there. I'm not saying the call was fake. Cody hangs up. Yeah, but the point is that McCoy states in his interview that on site, like on that parking lot, in presence of Chris, Cody called and told them basically, oh, I have a leak and blah, blah, blah. And then immediately after that, Chris offered. And this is not the case. So this was not the case. So I do believe that they're full of shit. How would a head of a 3 and 4? We explained that already, though. It is possible. Yeah, it's not, understandable for normal people like us. We're no thief hatch experts, or we don't push our kids through thief hatches. But according to the size of it and the the proportions of the girls, it's no problem, obviously, because we just ruled out that it's kind of impossible that they went through the manhole. What would drive a man insane enough to kill his family? All this. Money, pressure, nagging wife, anything. Just like I said, sometimes for some people it takes years, for some it takes a week, for some it takes a day, and enough is enough. And I think all this behavior, the financial issues, all this contributed, but that's just my opinion. Alina, sorry. Can't find your question anymore. Oh, who are these, and are we sure that is from that day? You mean the recovery of the bodies, that the images? Yeah, that's from that day. I think it's even time-stamped in the metadata, if I'm not mistaken. I wish it was talked about more, because that's the root of the case. Then you surely want to watch my documentary, because we bring everything to the table. Everything. No filter. Uncensored. Everything will be brought out. The firemen, yeah. The fireman pictures were from the day, I'm assuming. But what really is clear in this case? Nothing. All right, you guys, it's 4:34 in the morning. I'm not tired, but I gotta put myself to sleep. Otherwise, my whole Sunday will be spent in bed, and I can't do that with my kids. It was very, very nice, this live stream. I really enjoyed that. Thank you all for watching. And obviously have a good weekend and good rest of your day. I don't know wherever you are in the world. I mean, it's like different time zones. Like I said, the documentary, the date I have in mind or was reported back was the last week of March. Not sure what I'm gonna do. Obviously, my channel members are gonna see the documentary first, and all other subscribers after. What else is there to say? I want to do that little timeline where you can see the pattern as clear. You know, I have it in my head, but sometimes I cannot explain it so good. So I rather do a timeline where you can actually see black on white that this is a pattern and a strategy the prosecution together with law enforcement and the defense went. Like they did not want, they want 100% that Chris had no chance to say anything. It's a disgrace, in my opinion. But on the other hand, it's his own fault. Like, just open your mouth. The whole wide world knows that you're lying. The whole world knows that making up I lost my memory is absolute bullshit. So what's holding him back? People offer him help, investigating, do all these things, abandon their families for days and weeks and hours just to help this guy. And in last split second, he says, no, I don't want this, or I can't remember. So yeah, it's a shame because I feel like there were people involved, other people involved, and this is not justice. This is not justice for the little girls, and also not justice for Shanann. And what else did I want to say? Nothing. That's it. It's long enough for like 3 hours. Okay, you guys, as always, stay out of trouble, stay true to yourself, and stay out of drama. I love you and see you very, very soon. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Bye.